Alright, I'm back at it. It's a little bit cooler tonight, so I can do this better in the nighttime hours than I can in the daytime heat. What I'm doing is I've got the funky head up here, this forest call-off head, up on my stand. Now this is the stand that I make the nesters on. And I've got them on that round Ultracal stand right here. Got them up on that. You see the hole there? Just drill the hole like I said I was going to do. Put them on there. I got to do a little cleanup to it. We got a couple of air bubbles here in the ear, right there. Got to fix that. You know, we got to fill in right here a little bit. Brush them down, clean them up a little bit, and then we're going to try to get them prepped for motor. Now what I'm going to do in preparation is use plain cords and plaster tape, or plaster bandages, okay? Make a seam or make a flange around the ears here for it to go across the top, right here. And that way when I mold the Ultracal, it'll capture one side and that can capture the back. But the thing is to try to get where there's little to no undercut on all the way around, so I can get the Ultracal molded off without breaking it or distorting it or anything like that. But that will come later. This is just like I said, it needs to be just cleaned up just a little bit. Mostly right here in the back. We're turning around. We got the flange line here. It goes all the way across the top of the head, right? And now I got to clean up this where it's got a little bit of smush and stuff, and I'll put that back in as he had it the best that I can. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start off working this flange line, and basically that's just smoothing it out right here with your finger and smoothing it down. And then I'll brush it out with a little bit of alcohol and everything, because that's not supposed to be in there. It's supposed to be a flat head. I'm assuming he's going to put some kind of wiggetry on here or something. Hair, wigs, whatever. So it needs to be kind of smooth and flat for him to be able to do that. So all that little clay, a little bit of clay that came up under that flange line, we can take a brush and dip it in the alcohol. Kind of wash that out, smooth it down, soften it up a little bit. Smooth that out where it's not prevalent as a flange line. I could take a screw tool and place it down a little bit. I might do that. A little tool like this and just smooth it out. Scrape it down, smooth it out. This head would have a little bit of disproportion to it, but I want to make sure that the line's not so prevalent. So I can do that, just smooth it out, flatten it out. Same thing for down the sides here. You know, anywhere that looks like it's got the, whatchamacallit there. And then try not to get too much into the lettering. So I'm going to redo that lettering right there. Widen that out so it gets encapsulated with the sculpt and the mold. So he has his VK, whatever it is behind here. I'll have to find out what that is. You'll have to tell me. 31, VK 31. So I'll have to take all this off right here, flatten it out, and redo that 1 there, and 3, Okay, and I'll try to make it about exactly as you had it. All I'm doing is just sticking this up to where it is right there and just pulling it out. Smoothing that off. Like I said, if it was in there, it should be prevalent. So what we can do is just take this and go right down the sides and put that one right back in there. Scoop that out. Kind of just pull that out right there. Make it look like the one. Okay. Smooth it out. Don't worry about it. We'll get it. Okay, just smooth that out and take that clay out. Okay. Of course, we got to take this off here. Right there. Try to smooth this out here. See, that's where the flange came over where he cut it. And it left excess clay on top because it was molding into what was there. And of course the clay melted in and around that. Like I said, we'll just get some silicone tools, whatnot. Okay. Pick a big one first because it's kind of wide. And get this one. Put this one back in here like it is, like it's supposed to be. And then of course we've got to mesh this line right here. I know he had a line right here where he wanted to mark it where it would cut. And that's fine, we can do that. I just got to take this fold out. So he's got that line right there where he wants to cut it. So I'll put that crease back in there. But we want to take this and kind of mash this down a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to leave that on there, that little raised lump, because that's going to add to the thickness of the mask there. That way if you shave it down, latex is going to shrink. So we don't want it to shrink. And I'm going to fill this in. Make sure that cut line's in there like you want it. Put that right back in there, okay? I'm going to straighten out, fill out this area here, smooth that out. You want the neck left as it was. So all I'm going to do is just smooth this out into a nice neck formation right here. It's kind of flat and rounded all. It doesn't shrink in or anything. Because like I said, your latex is going to shrink. So what you want is you want nice, crisp, clean areas there. Okay. Take the final stuff, put some clay on there, smooth that out, and we'll just take this, we'll fill this in, smooth it out, and make it natural up against the horn. And we may add a little thickness, this clay's kind of crumbly because it's dried out. Got a bunch up here, so what cooked in the crock pot and I carried off. And I'm going to do this just for the sake of making a nice, clean, crisp line for you. Okay. I want to fill this up just a little bit right here at the base of the neck. So we have a nice, even neckline to work with. Okay. Clay might be a little distorted from before. And of course there's that beauty line right there. But you know how long you want the neck to be cut, see? You got a beauty line here where the flange came down, right there. I can put that back in there, but I just want to build it up a little bit, so it seems like a sunken end here. So I'll leave that right there. I'll just smooth this out, fill this in just a little bit. There's a good piece of fat clay right here. I'm just going to smooth this out right here so we have a nice even line across the back. Okay? Fill it in just a little bit more. Make it a little bit more rounded so it doesn't get distorted in the Ultracal molding. We'll do that just a little bit, not much. I want it to be well, as nice and flat as we can get it. And straight across the bottom. That way it's a nice, good mold, because the mold itself will extend past here a little bit, and I'll show you exactly how I'm going to do that. Because usually, so I started to think that I was going to mold it on this because I thought I can get the whole head pushed down and it wouldn't go all the way down. I didn't want the pole to pop out the top. So, you know, I'm just, like I said, I'm just taking this and just fixing it up a little bit. Cleaning it up, getting this little bit of plaster out of here. Because that's what that is little plaster bits. Where I laid it down on the table or top of the thing. That's what I'm going to do right here, and I'm going to get this mold line right here. Still have to smooth that out, straighten that out, so we don't have that seam line showing up. I'm going to get covered with hair anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But smooth it out with alcohol. I just want to kind of get this stuff out of here, smoothed out, that type of thing. I'll wash it down with alcohol a bit. And just take this little tiny plaster bits off of there, just to get them out of the way. And that's my fault because, you know, I did lay it down on the table with the fear that it was going to, you know, roll off or break or some shit. Didn't want to do that, so I'm like taking precautionary measures for the sake of preserving it. And we're going to put that K back in there for him. Boris Karloff. And I want to make sure that's a good K right there. So we'll do that, and I'm going to smooth it out. So put that right back in there like it was. Smooth it out. So now I got that K, see? And we just come back in here and shape the B. We can do that. I'll shape this B but right here. Bring it back here like this. Take all that out. Make a nice B for him. Deep. It's their signature on the back of his mask. A lot of people, a lot of artists like to put their signature back there so they can identify it when somebody else has it. And they say, I don't know who did this. And it'd be like, oh, BK, that's mine. That's Boris Karloff 31. So there you go. And this is actually his first sculpt. Can you imagine that? This is the first sculpt he's ever done. So I am very, very, very impressed. Gary has a very bright future ahead of him with this. Very impressed. Put it be in there, so Gary have a nice signature on there. That way it'll come out on his mask. And it'll be perfect. Okay, we'll soften that up, get rid of the harsh lines. And you got that 3. I'm going to soften that up, and I'm going to get this debris out of here and make sure these flange lines don't block anything. See? And then again, right here, I've got to very carefully and very gently and very easily remove these tiny, tiny little plaster bits. That's why I got to take my table out and shake it off. I actually changed the tabletop a few weeks back. And then I'm not sure what this is. Gary, you're going to have to tell me what this is. It's SG or whatever it is. I want to know for sure what that is before I mess with it. Okay? So we got this flange line that wants to fold up here. So what we're going to do is smooth that out right there. Make sure we smooth that down a little bit. And then, like I said, you got your cut line imprinted here where you want to cut the mask. So we're going to put that in there. We're just going to trace it right down. You really don't need that, but, you know, I understand why you did it. I understand why you did that. You want to have an impression of the cut line. Now, here's the thing, Gary. When you did this, you have a hole right here. That is good, because what that does is when you cut the mask up to that point, if you pop that hole and make it solid, like a solid hole, instead of just an indentation, it will keep the mask itself from tearing further. I know that you want to do this primarily for display, but let's say a child wanted to wear it, because it looked like it fit a kid pretty good. You could do that, and that will keep the kid from ripping and tearing the mask further than that point. So, there you go. Okay, so we got this cleaned up, and I want to take a little bit of alcohol, kind of wipe this down, smooth it out, make sure it's nice and clean and all that. You know, put these edges. You want me to put this cut line in here? I can do that. Put that cut line right in there. Right there where it was. But that's up to you. I'll do that much, and you just let me know what you think. Okay? I was basically want to straighten it out because I had it sitting on there. Next a little distended, distorted. That's it. Oh, good piece of this shit. Put the water on my hands, heat it up, do all that shit. Turn this around right here. Move this out, kind of like I said, extend the line with this a little bit, kind of make it straight line all the way down. As you can see where I set it down, it got a little distorted, so I'm going to fix that. And I'm going to strip something down on the back of this. So when I do lay it down, it will be cushioned. Going to be some foam. And I'm going to do that so it's cushioned. Now here's where the neckline comes over again. Oh, I'll put that trace line right back in there, so you know where you want it to end. Okay, I'll put that right back in there where it was. Smooth that out. And like I said, I'm going to build this up just a little bit better. Because when I do make mistakes, I will own up to them and I will fix them. I'll roll this around my hand a little bit and get this bit by bit and build it up. Build it back up anyway. Because when I clay poured it, it didn't come out quite even all the way around. So at least it needs to be that way on the outside, so when we mold it, it stays that way. The inside, not so much, it doesn't need to be that way, because it's only the outside where it's capturing all the details. So, sometimes it takes a little work to put this together. So again, y'all remember now, a retarded child can do this shit. According to somebody who I looked up to, who got me started in this thing years ago. He's angry with me about that. Doesn't want anything to do with me and everything. Well, dude, you know, I'm sorry. I looked up to him because, like I said, he was the one that taught me at least as much as how to do the master molding with Ultracal, how to do the Ultracal part for it, how to cast the latex, all that. He didn't mentor and tutor me in anything beyond that. But, like I said, in my honesty, I have to give the props where they're due. Okay? He started me out in this years and years ago. He traded me the masters and shit. And says he's regretful for it, said some hateful things to me, but you know what? I can't control anybody's behavior or their feelings or how they act towards other people. I can't do that. You know, that's not for me to determine. That's an individual's responsibility. So for all those of you that actually quote-unquote hate me, I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't that way, but you know what? You can't control anybody's behavior. You have to accept that people are not going to like what you do. They're going to not like you as a person, as an artist. They're going to criticize your work. They're going to do everything they can. Try to put you under their thumb, control you, do all that other garbage. And that's not happening. I spent 10 years worrying about what so-and-so, such and such, and all that thought, and in the end, it doesn't really matter. Because they're never going to buy from me. They're never going to support you. They're just there to make fun of you, laugh at you, mock you, criticize you, besmirch you, do anything they can to run you down and keep you out of the damn limelight because they feel insecure or jealous or whatever the case may be. That's their problem, not yours. Your problem as an artist is to be the best you can, be honest, be upfront, be as good a human being as you can to everybody, regardless of what they think of you or say about you. You know, that's going to come back and bite them in one way or another. People are going to see that, and they're going to go, oh, you're a disgusting human being. Or they're going to jump on the bandwagon and agree with them. And that's just human nature. So, I want people that are going to appreciate, if they don't agree with what I say or what I do, like I said, in my pinned post right there on top of my page, if you don't like what I do, at least let me know why. Why it is that you don't like what I do. Why is it that you don't like me Not and let it be with some dignity and some kind of reasonable shit. Not just call me names and laugh about it and do all that crap. Be a reasonable, functioning, common sense human being and say, I don't like you because of this, or I don't like you because of that. And let's have a discussion about it. You don't have to run around behind their back and talk shit. Okay? That's not the way to get things done. That's not the way. See, nobody ever asked me about anything. They always run around and say shit. But then I have to come to the table and go, okay, you know, you think my work looks like ass, you think it looks like dog shit, how about this, you know? This is a 5-year-old retarded child or whatever it is that they say. You know, this is what they do. You know, this is what they can do this. Okay, they make this, they do this. You know, they do that, they do this, that, and the other. And all that shit. That's their opinion. Okay? And opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. That's one of the oldest things in the fucking world. So I'm speaking not just for myself, but anybody out there who's an artist that's running across this bullshit, because I know I'm not the only one. Because people like this like to go after anybody and everybody they can. They think they're going to win some goddamn awards or some bullshit like that for treating people the way they do. What's going to happen is they're going to get karmic payback in some form or fashion. It's going to be a situation where they either run across that person in real life, and that person's going to settle the matter then and there in whatever fashion they deem between those two people. Yeah, could come down to a fist fight. You know, could be a number of things. You know, whoever and however they want to handle that, that's between them. And that's how it'll be done. Okay? I'm not the judgment on that, because I won't know the situation between those people. But I can tell you this, trust me, people see what you say on Facebook. Myself included, okay? I know I get angry and upset and I call people names and stuff in the video. Yeah, that's me being angry and upset, but guess what? Not anymore. You know why? Because I block those that I need to block. And, you know, if that continues, there'll be more blockings. But those people are no longer going to get under my skin. They're no longer going to have any control whatsoever over me, period, as an artist and as a person. So I don't care. You want to make fun of my shop being a mess and being cluttered. You want to make fun of me walking around barefoot all the time because I like to ground myself. And that's actually healthy to do. Fine. You go right ahead. You have the freedom to do that shit. But I don't have the freedom, I have the right to not put up with it. I have the right to block you. I have the right to call you out on shit. Because you're going to run me down, you're going to bully me, you're going to say this, that, and the other. Guess what? I'm not going to coward, I don't bend the knee to any goddamn body for anything. There's only one person I will bend my knee for, and that's Jesus Christ himself. That's it. That is it. I will not bend the knee to any human being whatsoever. Let's see, I gotta fucking put this up. I get this back in here and fix it. Oh, bitch. I'm trying to make this nice and fuck, I'm just gonna put it thick on that. I was trying to do a little thin, but it's not gonna stay unless I do it thicker. Like I said, it's not extending the neck, it's just trying to make a straight, nice line, so when we mold it, it'll come out clean. It'll get cut, some of it will get cut away anyway, but, you know, that's up to Gary when he does it. I just want a nice master for him to have, so when he goes and molds it, he can do so without having to worry about any problems. Okay? I want this to be a good piece for him to mold because he worked so hard on it. And he deserves it. He's trusting me as a fellow artist to help him with this. And that's exactly what I'm not getting paid anything for this. I mean, he's giving me, rights to the mask, so if I want to make, one that I could, but you know what? I don't know if I do want to do that. Because it's his work. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? How am I going to say, yay, look at this, I did this? No, I didn't do it. So Gary, I think I'm just going to pass on doing anything, having anything to do with molding this and making it or whatever. Because this is all your work. And I don't want to take anything away from you. So, I appreciate that offer. But I'm going to publicly and acknowledge that I'm going to rescind that offer and say nope. Now we got a little spot up here on the eyebrow, on the eyelid that I'm going to put in and fix. Okay? I'll put that eyelid back in there like that. And it looks like there may have been a little bit of an angle over there. And there is one right here on this side right here. So, see how that's distorted? I'll take a little clay, put that in there, and fix that. I'll take a little clay and put it in and see if it can fix that. It meshes up with the other eyelid, and see, now, look at that. Fixed. Get a little silicone chip tool, shake that down, shake it up, and fix it. Good as new. Good as new. There you go. Okay. I'll fix this one a little bit. There's something up here. I think it's a. There we go. Alright, I'll take a look over here. Make sure this is fixed. This is good. There's a little air bubble here. I'll take a little bit of clay, put it in there, fix that. Pinch off a little bit of clay. Put it right up in there. Smooth that out. Oops, wrong tool. Flatten that out. Let me see if I can get my finger under here. Smooth this out. I'll put this right here for a second. Got that smoothed over. There we go. We'll fix that. Take a little piece of clay off. We got to work on the ear here. I'm just going to take a little bit of clay bit, put it in the ear there. Smooth that out. more clay right here, like a tiny little hole right here. I don't know if that was on scope. I don't fill that in right there. There's a crease line right there. Now the reason I did that was because if that was part of the scope gay, I apologize, but we don't want any underhangs. We don't want the Ultracal getting in holes and pockets like that, because what will happen is when you go to mold that, it will actually tear the latex and it will distort it, and then when you go to make a mold, it will actually become deconstructive within the mold. In other words, the latex that's in there, it will actually become like pull out because there's a pocket in there. So you'll find that out when you go to mold things, buddy. You're gonna find out, and then you'll, like I said, you'll probably have to go back in at some point, do a re-pour. But here's the trick. You can mold silicone over that latex master. You can do that. Don't listen to these people that think they know every damn thing. You can do it. You can mold silicone over latex. You got it there. Let's go mold it. And me saying that doesn't mean a damn thing. It's just that you can do it. Don't go hooping and hollering, oh, and this is me, you did. This way you miss the recasting. Fuck off, you little never bullshit. Okay? Just stuff it. Trying to find fucking shit. They got you all the goddamn time. There's a bunch of goddamn children. Fucking children. And we don't have time for that shit. Us grown folks ain't got time for that bullshit. You go play your little bullshit games elsewhere. And for those of you that are over 40, you should act like it. But you don't. And like I said, you know, you have families, you have kids, you're married, and all that shit, you should be acting better than a fucking petulant goddamn 3-year-old child, 3rd grader. You really should. For those of you that aren't, don't have marriages and shit, go get laid, do something, get a hobby. Work on something. Quit worrying about what everybody else is doing. Focus on you. Do what you do. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. You do you. I'm just gonna fucking come real over that. There's flakes of clay in here, and I really want to fucking mold this out and make it nice and smooth, and at least at this point right here. I'll just take a little bit of clay to build that out. Smooth it out, build it out a little bit. Well, they're going to be thick. Like I said, I want a nice, clean, crisp line. So we go to mold it, and we'll stay a nice, clean, crisp line. And Gary, if you want to remake a flange line behind this, go ahead. Be my guest. I'm just leaving you a little room to work. So when you go to mold that master, you'll have room to work with it and do it, rather than struggle if you cut the neck too short or something like that. That's all that this is reshaping this to a little bit longer neck, making it pretty much even all the way around, so you don't have any problems when you go to mold the master. You can cut it off if you want, that's up to you. I'm just trying to make things just a little bit easier when you go to mold it. Because like I said, what you'll do is the same thing I did with the silicone sleeve. You will stuff it with bags, okay? Stuff that thing with bags, and you will fill it up so it's nice and firm like a basketball, and you put it on a stand like this, put a bag down. I'll tell you how to make this stand real quick. Get you a Dollar Tree bowl, mix up some Ultracal, fill it up, okay? Then take you a nice PVC pipe, maybe about an inch, inch and a half, quarter inch, 3/4 inch, whatever you want. Quarter inch to half inch will work. Drill you a hole in the thing, put that in there real tight. And, you know, if you got to pour more Ultracal on there, do it. But these are simple, cheap, easy stand to make. Just take a little Ultracal, PVC pipes, and do it. I had this thing for years. And it's a stand that I use for everything that I work on. I need to mold something, goes on the stand. Goes on the stand. Alright. We're going to finish this off. I'm going to take this and smooth it out a bit. Thicken it up right here, and just a little bit right here. Right along this edge. And then I'll smooth it down with alcohol. There's all these bits on there. And then tomorrow we will set this up with the Ultracal molded. Because it's late. I just wanted to get out here and do this real quick so you can see it. See it when I'm done. And know that I had taken care of everything. Clean these edges up a little bit, make sure they're good, they're rounded. Put this up under here, and do that, there we go. Get that nice thick thing right there, hoop. And I reckon I smooth it out. Along with some alcohol and fix that. Take this brush. Alcohol in there. Smooth that out really well, so don't hold anything. I don't want the Ultracal leaving any indentions or anything like that. Okay. Plus the vendors is going to be on this anyway, so it's going to hold up with plaster bandage and playing cards. Because I'm going to put them on the outside and the underside like this. They're going to be like that, sectioned together and taped, and then they will have plaster bandage on the underside of this. So it will hold the cards to that. And then you go, oh, well, how are you going to mold it like that? Well, guess what? There's going to be a separation line right here. It's going to go right under the ear, right here. And it's going to go around the ear, like this. So you have the ear almost cut in half right here. So you can have, and that'll be your flange line that will go through here, because you don't want any of the back side of the ear to be in the mold, because when you do and you pull it away, it's going to come off. So like I said, I'm just going to make a line like this straight across the top of the head. But we'll get into that, doing that tomorrow. Okay. I got to thicken this up a little bit right here where it's a little weak. Now that's flashing. I'm just going to put some more clay up under here to thicken that up so it doesn't flop around. I don't want it tearing or anything like that. We'll get all this smoothed out. Okay, now we'll just take this and smooth it up a little bit. I'll go through and get all this plaster rips off of here. Do a light brushing. Alright, there's a bucket right here. I'm going to do this light brushing right here and let you clean all this little plaster bits off. All the way around, smooth this out. Get these brush lines out of here. Indentions, if I need to fill it up, and come back over here. I got this, scrub it and kind of scrub it a little bit with a brush and get those little bits out. Pull that out. There we go. And get a little bit of alcohol on here. Brush it down. All that goes away. And smooth it out. Gary, remember, tell me what this is. Because I really can't see it, like SRS or something. Let me know what that is so I can put it back in there before we mold this, okay? Get all those clay bits out of there. Make sure that signature stands out. Clean it out a bit. Let's right down here in the flange line, make this nice and smooth as we can. Okay? So all this is done. It's still not thick enough. It still wants to wobble and fall and do all that shit. Like I said, I'm going to thicken this up. So we have a nice, even, good line to work from, molding wise. Wants to crack and do all that shit. I don't want it to crack and fall. And it's cracking and falling. That's a minute. A little line that I've added is just because I've got it too thin. But that's all we need is just something that's outlined, because all that's going to be thick on there. So we just need something thick that we can shape and mold and make that Ultracal mold to. Smooth this out all the way around here, get these little indentions moving around. Because I want to, like I said, where that neckline is thin. And put a little thick clay up there. Just build it up a little bit so it'll be smooth. That's what we're doing. Just building it up, smooth it out. smoothing out and restructuring this neck a little bit. Getting all those bumps to go away. Alcohol kind of dries the clay out a little bit. That's why I'm using a lighter fluid to melt it. So at the very least, we'll do this. Smooth out. That's why oil-based clay is good to work with, because you can use a number of solvent type things to soften and smooth it out. You can use alcohol, you can use lighter fluid, or you can use direct heat. Oftentimes direct heat works best. All it does is soften the clay down with it, smooth it out. It's cool and go around. Smooth that clay out. It's a little squeaky on here though. This is residual wax on here that's dried out with the clay. Sometimes that happens, the wax will come loose from the clay, but you can burn that off and melt it back in there. Sometimes it doesn't and just flick off, but it's okay. Moves it out. Now we have a good line definition in which we can mold from. Now the crisp clean mask edges right here as well. Right together right here. Oh, spot right here. There we go. There we go. Not a good line. Let's take a look at this. With a brush off all the little flakes. Make sure to get off of here. Make sure everything's brushed out, everything's good. Some small tiny flange holes up here on our fix. Very tiny little air holes. And take a little bit of clay and just throw it on top of the air hole and just pinch it off and it fills it up. Make sure everything's cleaned out. Roll it one more time, make sure everything's good all the way around. Make sure there's nothing in the butt. There's one ring here in the back. Little air hole. I think I got fixed. That's the coverage. Brush off the mouth, the chin, the cheeks. These little tiny bits flake. Ooh, we found one on the nose. Little tiny one on the nose. Move that out. Now one thing about clay pouring, you can get air bubbles and a little bit of indentation, things that pop up, but nothing major. There we go. It's all fixed up. And now all we do is just front mold it to the wall. And then that's it. So there we go. It's all fixed up, ready to be molded. We're live. Wanted to kind of continue this molding of the Frankenstein sculpt by Gary Sunley, a friend of mine that I'm helping out with the molding part, and kind of want to show that process. And what I'm going to do is I've got this clay here. Now this is water-based clay that I put in a Ziploc bag to keep it moist and everything. So what I'm going to have to do is take this clay out, cut it in sections here, and lay it over the head right here around all of this on this clay here. And then we'll back that with plaster bandage. And the first thing I want to do is see if I can get a couple of this clay cutter right here. I've got stuff happening here on the floor and trying to get stuff molded and stuff done. And things are just kind of... Okay, so I've got a clay cutter here. And what I'm going to do first is size this out and get about a 1/2 inch. I think I could do a 1/2 inch. It's got to be about the same size clay all the way around. 1/2 inch, probably about 1 inch. So I'll measure out 1 inch on this so I can cut even strips of clay to go around here. Now this will be enough. I had like 2 bags of this, so this will be enough to do it. Basically what I want to do is just take this clay cutter, run it through this clay, whoop, right there. Look at a strip of clay like this. Shape it out. This. Now what I'm going to do, this is water-based clay, So this is not the same as this. This is oil-based clay. This does harden up, but it won't crack. It won't do anything bad like that. So what I have to do is, let me see if you can see this. Yep. So what I have to do is make a flange alongside this thing. So I'm going to take this first piece of clay and I'm going to put it right behind the ear. Now see, this is not the perfect flat, all that crap piece of clay, but it doesn't need to be. Just bend that right there and put that right up against the ear and press it right there. Put it right behind the ear up against the the oil-based clay, and I'm going to put it flat up against the sculpt. Push that clay into it so it stays on its own. Now we're not going to trust this to stay on its own. We're going to come back, smooth this out, plaster bandage the back of it because this will dry out eventually. That's been the thing when you're doing the molding. The clay will dry out underneath it, especially in this heat. And we want to keep it from cracking and breaking and distorting and all that. So what we're going to do is just take another strip of clay like this. Cut another strip. And then we're going to come from right at the top behind the ear and go right across the top of the middle of the head like this. But what I'm going to have to do is shape this clay to fit that. So it's a little thin right here, but see, the thing is, being thin or thick doesn't really matter to a degree, as long as that clay wall is right up against that sculpt, like this. And then I'm going to take a little piece and I'm going to merge it right here with this. Because what happens when we put the Ultracal on there, the Ultracal is going to the Ultracal is going to hold just not the clay in place. The Ultracal is going to make a wall against this. And we have to go in there and shape this out. I'm not done shaping it out. We just put in the actual wall up first. And just do that right across the top of the head. What I'm doing for my friend Gary is I'm making a latex copy of this. In order to make a latex copy, I have to make an Ultracal mold. And I'm trying to get this done rather quickly with the materials that I have. So he can get a copy probably by next week, middle of next week. I got this cut so it'll thicken it down. Slab in half, that might be enough right there. And then what we're also going to do is going to add a lip to this. I need to turn around here. And we're also going to add a lip to this. By meaning that I'm going to turn the end in like this. Curve it because we are going to lay this down on its back. So this is the thick portion of clay here, right? I'll go along and I'm just going to turn that curve in right there. So it curves up into a fold right here. What that does That portion keeps, when it lays down, it lets the Ultracal fill in and make the edge of the mold. At the same time, it kind of holds it in place. That's why I plaster bandage back it, because this can be thin or thick clay. I don't try to use too much thick clay. So I'll have to go in there and do the fixing of the flange area and all that. Now this is fairly thick. I don't really need it thick. Cut the thick part off. Nope. Tell you what, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to put that up there. I'm going to mesh this behind the ear. And I have to lay this up right up next to the ear, because the underside of the ear is where there's what's called undercuts. And if anything gets in that portion behind the ear, mold-wise, it will lock up the mold itself. I don't want it to get underneath or behind it. That's why I do this and put it right there in front. Put that down. I'm gonna have that. Of course, this is thick. Like I said, it's thick. It's big. I'd take a popsicle stick. Pull this down. Right here. Smooth this out. Up, crimp it to where it's going to hold the Ultracal inside the mold. Probably add a little bit more right there. I don't need all of this, but I'm going to try this thick. Try to put it on there. I'll fold it backwards. Almost got this mold involved, almost. Now the one thing about mold walls, when you do these, you want to have keys or grooves or something like that. I usually do little holes. I'll put impressions in there just to make sure that when the mold comes together, it can lock together. But this is a trash mold. Very much like that plaster bandage was that I did that you saw in the video. This is basically just to make one latex copy. So that's what this is. Going to put a section right here on the front, right at the edge of the flag here, and that creates a cup again, a cupping effect where the Ultracal will have something to go up against, but it doesn't need to be too thick. Take this section here, put that out there. plaster bandage is going to go all the way around all of this. So, this clay will not stick to the monster clay. It pulls away, it does all that by itself. Then I'm going to do the plaster bandage behind. That's a backing. Basically what that does is for the thin parts of the clay here, it will support them. So I don't have to worry about it falling over or the weight of the Ultracal coming down on it and all that. So I put my clay off to the sides here. Got my bucket. Bandages, water. Now the cosmetic part is doctoring it up, doing all that. We'll come after our plaster bandages and make sure this thing is set. What we're going to do is just take double folded bandages right here, small sections. Down. Not every artist does this. This is just something I do for reinforcement. I would put the bandages on the back of this because when they're dry, they will hold that clay in place. So I don't have to worry about the reinforcement process. I usually put 2 layers down here, one up against the clay sculpt, and then 2 up against the wall. And this is very crude, rudimentary. Like I said, this is trash mold. I'm not worried about it. It's only getting done one time. That's it. The artist has offered me a half on, being able to do this, but I'm probably not going to do anything with it because it's his work. I thought about making a fiberglass molding of this for kids to have a fiberglass, to have a silicone mask, and he was cool with that. But with the debacle and stuff that I'm going through right now with Facebook, I am not going to give any petulant little children excuses to go crying foul about crap they don't know about, because that's what they like to do. They want to accuse people of stuff they don't know anything about. And I'm just going to concentrate on my original art. That's it. I don't need to do other people's artwork. I have my own. So basically this is getting done for my friend for free, but please do not get the idea that I do everything for free. I'm not the free shit fairy. Ha ha ha. So I'm recording this for ethnic reasons or prosperity, just to prove that I can do this stuff, because people are like, well, you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing videos because you don't know what you're doing, you waste material, blah, 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 all that shit. Yet, here I am. Here I am showing people how to do stuff. They're mad because they're not the ones being asked to be taught how to do stuff. That's why. This is just added protection insurance. Put it that way. And people will say, well, if you knew what you were doing, you wouldn't need insurance. But you know what? I'll guarantee you, there's an artist out there who had made a mold wall and hadn't collapsed on them on the way to Ultracal. I've had it happen a couple of times. Because like I said, this is going to come off of the stand and it's going to get laying down on foam. I've got foam pads over there. And it's going to get molded. You don't have to do this. Not everybody does this. But like I said, this is just additional insurance I personally do to ensure that there are no mistakes. Period. That's all I'm doing. I'm just adding insurance to my work to make sure that I don't accidentally mess up the mold, even though it's a trash mold and it's one time. I don't want to mess up the mold because it is his work. I want to make sure his work comes out good. And therefore I'm taking extra precautions on my benefit and my dime to make sure that his work comes out good. And I do that for all my work. That's why I save my work. That's why I back it up, because anything can happen. Anything can happen. I spend a lot of time doing these lives while molding, and I'm talking to people, paying attention to what they say, and I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. That could be a recipe for disaster. You know? And you have to take insurance for that. Otherwise, oops, be in the middle of showing it and embarrass yourself because you didn't take that, wasn't paying attention, didn't take that precaution. Then you have the little idiots out there laughing. Oh, ho, 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 ho. You don't know what you're doing. See, that's what petulant little children on social media like to do. They like to sit there and make fun of people. They like to sit there and watch people fail. And that's the thing. I failed, and I'll readily admit I failed. But you know what? They take delight in people failing. They want to see people fail because that's what they're about. They get personal kicks and shit from that. Because they want to feel superior to others. That's why I'm over here instead on Facebook. Recording this, which will get cross-posted. I'm not going to do the Ultracal part right now. I got to let these bandages dry. But I am going to make sure these get folded, get covered, the whole 9 yards. Like I said, these are $20 bandages. So, quote unquote, me wasting materials is $20. Okay? But you don't have many forget your dog food. Don't worry what my situation is. Mind your own business. I'm doing this. I'm helping other people despite my own financial difficulties, because that's what we're supposed to do as people. Right? Supposed to help others. We were put on this earth to serve other people in some capacity or form. And this is what I do. How I try to serve my fellow man by helping. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Trying to reach over here for another bandage. So for those that are new to molding and such, you worry about making mistakes, make mistakes. Make them. What you want to do is try to add insurance to your work so you don't, if you can. Okay? And this is just one way to do that. Alright? So don't listen to people saying nobody does this, nobody does it like this, because I am nobody. And look at me, I'm doing it. So all the little gatekeepers and the little people that claim to know everything, and they're all much better than I am or any other artist, don't listen to that garbage. People do things differently for different reasons. I don't always have confidence in my mold making ability. That's why I'm doing this for the individual who also has no confidence in his mold making abilities. So we share that common trait. See? Two people who are insecure come together and work together on a project to get it done, to make it look good. I'm going to add a little clay in here just because this bandage has come out. So I'm going to reinforce this wall right here. And like I said, this is a throwaway mold. So smoothing it out, doing all those indentions, keys, everything. I just got to make sure it's put up against the ears and the sculpt, and everything comes out nice and seamless because I don't want any seam lines. So the bottom doesn't really matter. It's the inside here that matters. That's what really matters. Any place that looks like there's going to be undercuts, I'm going to come along, smooth that out, get that away, whatever it is. I will do that with a silicone chip tool, and I will come in here and make a brushing of clay away. And you have to have a very light touch in doing this because you do not want to carve into the oil-based clay. Okay? And then you will take a paper towel, dip it in water. I should bring you guys up a little higher here so you can see what I'm working on, see? Okay, I've got this right here. And what we do is we just take this and this clay that's on here, take water with a towel and just wipe that clay back. And if we need to scrape more, we just very gently get it off of there. Very gently. Smooth it out, scrape it off. Take your water and your towel, go right behind it. Smooth that out, make sure everything's good. Flat. And smooth this out. Flatten it around the head. You want kind of smooth lines if you can get them. You've got to have a smooth head, so we're going to very carefully try to get this right back to it. Get the big things off of there. Smooth this out, wipe it down. Smooth it down. Still seeing clay that wants to lay up on that water base. You're not applying pressure, you're just gently raking this off to where it gets the water-based clay off, not the oil-based. Just wipe that down. Get that all cleaned out. I've got clay bits in here. For some reason, all these plastic bits get in here. And they annoy me to death. You want to have the seam right here, but you don't want to have a seam not smooth. So smooth that out right there. So I take my finger and go in there and smooth it out. And then you can just put little plug holes in here like this, little indentions. Like that. And your thicker parts of clay there. And just come along and press your finger in there and make a hole. Right there, close to the, not close to the scalp, but like midway between. I'll come over here on this side and show you right here. You can see. So I have to kind of get a clean towel and clean this up. Yeah, Jason said to take a break because I'm doing this, and I'll get back to that as well. And like I said, this is oil-based and water-based clay. So, two different mediums. One does not coexist with the other. You get all that residue off of there. Clean this up to where it's nice and pristine and very well done. So right here I don't want any cracks, so I'm going to go right along that ear edge and smooth this out. I have to add a little bit of clay on the inside of this just to thicken this up because of the mold wall where the Ultracal is going to be. Now the outside of the mold from this point out is the only things you need. You just need to have it. If it's distorted and stuff on the very outside, don't worry about that. You can rasp that down with a sandpaper rasp or a wood rasp and make that smooth. And I'll show all that when I do this. What I'm doing right now is just basically rebuilding around this ear a little bit bigger and better mold wall here, because when this gets encapsulated, this is too shallow here, and this Ultracal is likely to want to flow out of here instead of being cupped up and held. So I'm just going to put a little additional clay right there. Smooth that out. Make sure where the ear is, especially, because a lot of Ultracal is going to go in that ear, but it's also going to need to be covered so it does go in the ear. And I'll put that about a ½ inch to an inch away from the wall just to make a good mold. But like I said, this is trash mold, so it only needs one pour. But I'm just doing this for aesthetics to show you guys the process of making these. Okay, enough of that extra clay that we built up right there. We've got 1.5 2 inches of depth. That's fine. That's because there's a lot of slumping that's going to go on this side. Now, it's even bigger on this side, wider than this. That's why I built that up, because it's going to slump in there, and I want to have it room where it can thicken and build up. Okay. So then we'll go back and we'll lay bandages on the side of this clay here. Do this with. And like I said, this is just additional insurance on my part. I've been doing this for years, but you know, I don't make Ultracal molds that often. Usually when I do, they're one piece. I don't have to build mold walls. Meaning I make a master like I'm doing right here. And then I make a one-piece mold, which means I take the Ultracal and I put the mask or whatever it is on there. Usually a mask stuffed with bags. And I put the mask stuffed with bags on the stand. Then I put the Ultracal on it. And that way I can just, when it's finished, I can take it out, I can pull the bags out, the mask folds in, comes out, it's a one-piece mold. I'm not being ridiculing or anything like that, but I've often said, any artist who's been doing this for a number of years is still making two-piece molds, you're working harder than you need to. Seriously. Working so much harder than you need to. One-piece molds are so much easier to do, but, you know, especially if you're overweight or you have lung or heart or problems, health problems, whatever. You know, it's easier to do one-piece mold because they're less bulky and cumbersome. They sit up and stand up on their own. They don't have the attributes of being, you know, you have to clamp them together, you have to do this, you have to do that, and you have to do all this extra stuff. All you gotta do is just turn them upside down, pour into it, let it dwell for 2-3 hours, dump it, boom, that's it. That's all you really need. But, you know, it's just courtesy, advice, that's all. Okay, so looking at this, we've got it molded all the way around. All the details and stuff are going to be captured. I've got it smoothed out against the sculpt. There's not going to be any undercuts. It's not going to be where the Ultracal seeps in behind. So we're going to be good. Like I said, for the one mold, one master we need to make, we're going to be good. It's going to be perfect. What I do need to do is go over and clean up some of the details around this, because this clay has covered up some of the details of the sculpt. And I did offer to go and refine this, but the gentleman, I'm going to leave it like it is because he sculpted his first sculpt. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to mold it and do what needs to be done with it. Now these bandages are going to dry, and when they dry, it's going to probably come back out here in a couple hours and do an off social media video of the molding. I'll post it up to Tiki Talkies. I'll be sure to post it up, because it also goes up on my YouTube channel, Carolina Kiwi Creations. So anything I do like this is all being documented, recorded, everything. so you can see everything I'm doing. Okay, so we have an encasement mold. We have the plaster bandage outside of it, right here. Plaster bandage insurance right there, all the way around. Okay. And here we go. Going all the way around the back. I'll show that, everything. Okay. So there we go. And that right there is just a quick clay process. And like I said, I want to clean this off. Everything. And it's ready. So given a couple hours, that'll set up. And we will have the ability to make an Ultracal mold. And I think I might have enough in the bucket. If I don't, oh well. But like I said, it's going to be a trash mold. So we'll find out. I may be able to get this thing half molded. Then I have to get another bucket of Ultracal, 20, 25, 50 pound bag. And do it. Because I did another project that took some Ultracal and forgot to reorder. So hopefully I got enough to do this. Because I don't plan on having to make any molds or anything for a couple of weeks. Even up to a month. So there we go. Clean that off, make that nice and neat and clean. Alright. I'm going to wait a little bit and we'll come back to this and we'll do the Ultracal mode. Alright. I appreciate it and we will see you guys on the next one. Here's the whole kit and caboodle. Right there, start to finish. Alrighty. And there we go.